Blah, proper name, place name, backstory.
Hey guys.
Hey. Welcome back to Complicated.
Hey guys.
Whoa. Oh, was that me?
Complicated today.
Oh, I went like this and it went. Oh. Could have been really bad. Anyway, hi.
Hey guys.
It's complicated today.
It is complicated today.
Isn't it
It's
always?
sad,
Yeah.
but maybe good.
It is sad.
We don't know.
We have been kind of like leaning into the stories that are kind of more important and big that a lot of you have heard about, but we want to like educate you
Yeah.
Yeah.
and give our own
Absolutely.
So you're about to get educated
opinions.
today. This is an educational
That's our
video.
new
Not
tagline.
Very
really,
educational.
It's not really serious, but get educated. That's what we're gonna say.
Get
educated.
but- Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I hate that word so much.
Educated.
I love that word. It makes me feel smart.
Anyway, so our topic today is the Menendez Brothers. I'm sure you all have heard of this 30-plus-year-old case.
Yes.
They need justice, and hopefully in the next coming months or year, it will be served.
Yep.
Yeah,
We
Their
will
case
know
has
by
been
the
reopened.
end of this week that
Yes.
if it.
The DA said that by the end of this week, we will know if he's reopening the case or not, or if he's resentencing.
Resentencing. It's
Excuse me.
reopened.
Yes,
It is
resentencing.
open, yep.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think let's just get
Travel back
into
with us to
it.
California. My
Let's
favorite
start.
state.
Let's go back to the beginning. Where it all began.
It all began.
So Jose Menendez was born in
Colombia.
Born in Cuba? Born in Cuba. But so Jose, he fled during the Cuban Revolution to America, and he became a self-made man who. Can I read? Self-made man into a wealthy entertainment executive. He's known to be strict and demanding, placed high expectations on his sons, as we know, and he also excelled in sports and academics, which you see that in how he pressured some of his sons for academics and sports. And then Kitty, who is the mom, she was born in Chicago. She has a middle-class background. She married Jose. She became a full-time homemaker before she was a teacher. And Kitty's described emotionally fragile, a little bit struggling with depression, low self-esteem, but she had difficulty asserting herself. But she also did know about all the things that her husband was doing to her sons.
Wait, did know or didn't?
Did know.
Yeah.
Did know. So even, like, I get, like, a lot of people think she was protecting herself, but she's also,
She's a
they've
part of this.
described that she was emotionally abusive, but not physically.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, that was definitely true.
I love that name.
I will
Not that I
say
like
Kitty,
her, but I
yeah.
love the
I
name
do like that
Kitty.
name.
It reminds me of that 70s show.
I was
Me
about
too.
to say, I
Yeah.
love that show.
I will say it sounds like they, like on the outside, they seemed like the picture perfect, like American dream,
And I think that's the
family.
point.
Yeah,
a little
living in
bit,
90210 and yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Being the children of a very successful businessman that came to America and created a life for himself. And
Right,
then, like,
the American dream.
Yeah, and then
That
I
was
think
real
that-
big at the
exactly,
time.
Yeah, I think Kitty was
was-
also like a cheerleader, like star cheerleader, and all that.
Yeah.
and- Anyway, continue on.
So there's Lyle and Eric. Lyle's the oldest, Eric's the youngest. Lyle was known to be a little bit more like combative with his father
Yeah.
over Eric. He took a little bit more of a protective role over
As
Eric.
the
Not
older
too
brother, yeah.
protective because he had to protect himself a little bit. But
Yeah.
you do
Like, pick
see
his
that he
battles.
was trying to take the brunt over his little
Absolutely.
brother.
Not like how Ryan Murphy depicted him
yes.
at all.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't he do the what's his
Dahmer?
name? The Dahmer one
That
too.
I don't understand how it went so wrong because Dahmer was amazing.
It was. I never watched it, but it looked really well made.
I've
was really
rewatched
good.
it probably 5 times
I
because it
haven't
is
watched
so
it.
I
good.
really liked it.
Really? I think I watched the first episode and I was like, "This is giving me the heebie-jeebies."
I was gonna
Yeah.
say I
Yeah.
get like queasy really easily, and
Yeah.
like if
Yeah.
I saw heads in a refrigerator, I'd be like,
No,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. Like,
And the fact
Ryan
it was-
Murphy just needs to stay away from.
like true
Well,
crime
just
cases.
like-
The
I
person
know.
who made Glee should not be making true crime documents.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, and
true.
I love Glee.
is he a director?
He did
American
Euphoria.
Horror
He
Story.
did
Oh,
he
all
did
of
Euphoria?
these. He
He's
was a part
got-
of that.
He's done a
He's
lot.
got the
I loved
whole
American Horror Story.
Horizon. I mean,
American Horror Story is oh my gosh,
I love it. I
Love
love
American
it.
Horror Story.
That's
you
what I'm
don't
gonna
have
watch when I
to
go
like be a like true crime specialist.
Yes,
to
I
be-
know. I was really.
It seems like he's into a lot of that like dark.
He is.
Yeah,
Like,
he likes the
I think the
dark.
problem with him is he always over sexualizes his
Everything.
characters.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, I get that there's a time and a place for that, but like Lyle wasn't like that way. There was no
No.
intimate relationship between Eric and Lyle.
Well, no.
You know?
I mean,
Not-
Not in the sense
yeah.
of like not how they were kissing
No,
in
like,
the,
they were
in
not
the
doing
show
all
and
that.
whatnot.
No, we can
yeah.
assume.
Yeah, like they're not gay.
I
So.
think he needs to just like respect true crime. You know what I mean?
I
Like
agree.
respect the
Tell
people
the
in it, not
story.
just tell a story, but you need to also respect them because these are real people.
Exactly.
Unlike the people in Euphoria or American Horror Story,
Yeah.
where those are stories that people made up, not like a real thing.
And
That's
I'm
why
sure,
Dahmer was so
like,
good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. I'm sure stuff like that, like, obviously happens in real life, and there's no way to tell what was going on in that house and how they acted in that house. But I feel like they spun it like a completely different direction.
Yeah,
than
completely
it was
different.
supposed to be. Even like Eric's family and friends was like, Eric is like or not Eric. Lyle was a good person. Like
Yeah.
he wasn't this like
Crazy lunatic.
No,
Yeah.
he's not a psychopath.
Yeah. No, I agree.
No, they're
Sorry.
just abused.
We went
No,
off on a tangent.
literally.
Yeah.
it's okay. Where was I?
Eric-
Lyle.
Yeah.
We're talking about Lyle. So, and then Eric, he's the younger one, a little bit more emotionally fragile, sensitive. He was a really good tennis player. He excelled in tennis.
Yeah.
He was actually he became ranked in the top 40 junior players. And
Oh,
he
wow.
was still
Oh,
playing
wow.
tennis at the time of the murder.
Yeah.
He was
Yes.
really intense, but his father, since his father was so into athletics, kind of pushed Eric to be the best in tennis. So that's what's known a lot about
Yeah.
that point.
I
Right.
thought that Lyle was known for being better at tennis
It's
than
Eric.
Eric.
Eric was top 40 junior
Oh.
tennis players.
And Lyle,
But they
Lyle
both
went
play
to-
tennis?
I don't know if I didn't see that part. If Lyle played tennis, he might have. I just know Eric was the one who was ranked and who was being put pressure on to succeed.
Because didn't after the death of their parents, he spent like a ton of money on a tennis coach for yearly lessons. Yeah.
So,
Well, dang.
and then so both of them leading up to the murders, both of them were stole from the family. They were involved in a series of thefts from their own family, like $100,000 from his father's bank accounts. Which
The sons were stealing while they were alive?
before the youngest had Eric take the blame because there would be no criminal
Consequence.
record.
Yeah.
And then they also did a break-in at their family business in 1988, a year before the murders, that Eric and his friends broke into, and Lyle, I think, was there, but one of the friends snitched because they weren't a part of a different break-in.
Oh.
So that's
The
how
reason,
yeah.
Well, the reason that they did it in the first place is because Jose cut them off.
Right.
He wasn't giving them any money.
Yeah.
And they
Oh.
didn't have a life outside of like sports and everything that
Yeah.
their father was making them do. So
Right.
they had to find a different route to get
Their
money.
Yeah.
their
And they
father
chose to rob rich Beverly Hills.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
their father was
Yeah.
was emotionally abusive, physically abusive, but also financially abusive, which you don't see a lot about.
Yeah.
But their father would use money even when they were not 18 yet to control them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they had to figure out their own ways. But their father found out. They didn't get criminal charges, but their father became even stricter and worse. According to them in one of their interviews they did, that afterwards their father got like 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, it does say here, sidebar. I thought this was true. Lyle was a very good tennis player. He played on the Princeton team.
Oh wow.
Oh.
Okay.
That's why he got like almost a full ride to Princeton.
Yeah.
They
for
also,
being-
yeah.
Expelled.
Yeah.
Suspended.
I
that's
just didn't
right.
see that just because I just saw the Eric stuff was like.
Well, I think Eric's more known.
Yes.
I think
As
Eric
being
was
the
more known.
tennis
I didn't know.
player. Yeah.
They also, so speaking of Princeton, Lyle got suspended from Princeton for plagiarism, which was kind of the start of, like, that's when his dad also started cutting them off a little bit because he had to move home.
Yeah.
And then Eric, he also was a writer, and he wrote a play before the murders, a
Yeah.
screenplay
Yeah.
about a young man who murders his wealthy parents to inherit the
The money.
money. And it's a little bit, it kind of like adds up a little bit, like how the murders took place. But so that's why a couple people
It
doubt
seemed
them.
premeditated.
Seems
Yeah.
premeditated.
Okay, well, that maybe wasn't
But then
the
you have to
smartest.
think about the headspace they were
No,
in.
he was
Yeah,
an
well,
idiot in that
obviously.
And he
sense.
was the youngest,
Yeah.
and he's known to be a little bit more sensitive, emotionally
Him
intact.
writing that was like him, like almost asking for help. I feel
was
like.
gonna
No, it
say-
definitely was.
Yeah.
He didn't
was
know how to
writing out
deal
his-
with everything that was going on, so he put it into a play.
Well, I think
Okay.
also when they were did the psych eval on them, they were, I think, had like the mental capacity of like under the age of 10.
child.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
He didn't know any better. I mean, like they came up with how to murder their parents from a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know.
And so then in 1989, March 8th, Jose and Kitty were found murdered in their home in Calabasas, California. Both were shot multiple times with a shotgun.
Yeah.
Wow.
March 9th, Eric and Lyle reported the murders to the police, saying someone killed their parents. They claimed they didn't know who it was.
Okay, throw away the play.
Mm-hmm.
Throw
Oh,
away the
yeah, I don't
script.
think-
Burn it.
March 10th, investigators began to suspect the brothers after inconsistencies and then lack of evidence pointing to an intruder.
Yeah.
And then during the time before they were arrested, they were spending tons of money.
That's because they weren't in the will.
Tons of money. Yeah, no, but tons of money. Then they also, so they had a therapist. They have a therapist, and their dad made them sign
It was a psychiatrist. And the reason they went there in the first place was their punishment for
Right,
robbing.
and they had to sign a thing saying the psychiatrist can tell them what they're doing, tell the parents what they're speaking
Yeah.
about. So they recorded video audio sessions. The therapist or psychiatrist's girlfriend found one of the tapes confessing to the murder, sent that to the police. Then they were arrested.
Oh, okay.
Even though that is like breach of
I was about to say,
client
that's
It is.
very illegal.
confidentiality.
Yeah.
But I mean, he wasn't the one to do it. And
Exactly.
At the time, it was like so. They were just trying to figure
And the
out
psychiatrist should have
suspects.
done that in the first place.
Well,
No, she could.
You
if
can't. It
yes, you
breaches
can.
client.
Well, if it's
If you're hurting
somebody has
yourself or
co-
others.
If you're hurting yourself or others,
have
or you
to.
commit a crime, they have to report it to the police.
I don't know if that was like the same back then.
I know. I was gonna say it could have been
I was like,
different.
now
They might
it
have
is.
changed those rules.
But I mean, what do you do in that
Especially
situation?
confidentiality.
I
Someone
mean, as a
like-
psychiatrist, someone says, I murdered my parents. I mean, what goes through your
Same
mind?
with like
Well,
people. This is kind of relevant. Like, if you go to like a pope and you do like a confessional.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, like this is like completely like confidential, and they have to say yes. Like, even
Yeah.
if they're like, hey, like I did something really bad and I
Right.
killed someone.
Yeah.
They can't do anything about that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know.
Sidebar,
So I
remember
guess
my
it's
mom
just
took me
different.
to do confessionals because I lied to her, so she made me tell my priest why I lied about little
Yeah.
nerd.
That's okay. I do that all the time with the Lord.
I need to go.
Like, Lord, look, I gotta talk to you. You already know what I did.
And then so the next year in that August, they were arrested. They said the motives were. The investigation reveals that they were motives to family abuse, so they did have that in their motives, and then financial issues.
That was after the trials had started, though, because when they initially got booked, everyone had their own conspiracies that they were like doing it
Yeah.
for the money because they obviously spent bunch
Yeah.
of
Yeah. Of course you
Little
have
financially
Rolex,
irresponsible.
Yeah.
tennis lessons.
And so
Me
then-
too, because I would have done the same.
So that April,
You're getting those pants in every
that
color,
April
bro.
they go to trial. The prosecutors were arguing that the murders were premeditated, while the defense did a case of the long-term abuse. Sidebar: loved their lawyer. Loved
Yeah,
her.
I know. She was wonderful.
She was the mother figure that they
her
needed
name?
at that time.
Yeah.
She also couldn't get pregnant, so she adopted a child.
I know. I loved her, especially because during that time, it was like people didn't think that men could be sexually assaulted. Yeah. But
like-
she like stood up for them for that because
And she
they
defended
can.
them afterwards too, because she like went on interviews, and people were trying to get them, be like, well, they still kill their parents, and she would like go off and be like, excuse you, like she
Yeah.
defended them.
Yeah.
Even when they were
I know.
booked.
Whenever
Right.
they started recording the documentary that recently came out of the Menendez Brothers like calling through the jail,
Yeah.
Their lawyer. What is their lawyer's
I'm
name?
looking it up.
Okay.
I thought I
thought it was
Leslie
Leslie,
Aberson.
that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so Leslie wasn't a part of that. If anybody has seen that, and it's because like she believes in like client. What's it called when you can't share anything on the case?
Confidentiality.
Is it client?
I think so.
Yeah.
Client
Yeah.
confidentiality. Yeah.
It's like client-lawyer confidentiality
Yeah.
or something like that. She was like, I'm not being a part of this because I still believe, even 30 years later, that in
she didn't want to ruin
confidentiality.
their.
Yeah, which I appreciate that. But I know that the prosecutor, she was on there, wasn't
She was
on
on
the
there.
documentary, and she
Really?
was like,
It's
I
because-
have guns.
It's
I'm like,
because she wanted to be the one that got them like fully admitted to the jail, and she wasn't because they had a second trial, and
yeah,
she was not a part of that at all.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yes. Do you have a timeline on the trials?
The trials. So I have the first one, it started in April 1991.
And that's when all evidence was submitted, and they had a split jury, so right down the middle, half of the women.
And then in 1993, so 2 years later, they had the highly publicized trial, which was on TV, which was one of the first trials
Yeah.
to go that publicly on TV because it gained so much traction. Probably some of it for the wrong reason. It's like any people who they assume are like think are attractive, like they try to like.
Yeah, because I won't put it past me. Kyle?
Like,
No, sorry.
Eric?
Eric. I mixed them both up.
Kyle.
Eric, he was a.
Kyle.
Like,
Both of them are good-looking men.
They
Can I see a picture? Can I
Oh,
like,
yes,
I-
you
I
can.
feel bad because during that trial they did have people like trying, and they like would have fan letters after they just were abused by their parents, like sexually abused by their parents.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
He kind of looks like a hot zombie.
That's Lyle.
You know what I mean? Oh, they're cute.
That's Tisha. That's
Yeah, I know.
They're chiseled.
They are chiseled.
I know.
Very blessed. No, but about the trials that really bothered me, and I saw this in the documentary. Their first trial, like I said, was a split jury. So, and this was a split jury to say, meaning they were going to get charged for what's the word? Manslaughter, but it was out of self-defense.
Okay.
Involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That was what they were going to get charged with because it was basically self-protection, even though it wasn't. Imperfect self-protection is what it's called. So it means like obviously they're not like coming at you, but you're in fear for your life.
Yeah.
You
Right.
think that they will.
Because their defense, like the part that they argued with that is because Lyle told their dad a couple weeks before that he was going to come out and tell everyone everything.
Yes.
And
It was
so
the
they,
day before.
day
they killed
before.
her.
So that
it was
escalated.
just kidding, not weeks.
And-
so he was afraid that it was going to be
His dad
him
was,
or
yeah, his dad.
them or them. Like,
So the first trial, like I said, split jury, which was great news because there was hope for them to not serve life in prison and not have the possibility of the death penalty, which was great. Split jury, it was completely split women, men. All the men said, you did it, I don't care, go to jail for life. All the women were like, no, because this makes sense. So,
Right.
the second trial was not fair at all. All the evidence that was submitted in the first trial confirming the abuse, relatives speaking, saying
Yeah.
that they were told about the abuse. There were, recently a letter came out, stuff like that. All of that evidence was not in the second trial at all.
Oh.
So it just makes them look like monsters. Yeah.
The second trial was purely for their prosecution. Was them getting prosecuted for.
They were both-
They was just saying like you did it,
were
and they
both
couldn't argue
convicted.
any of it.
Yeah.
of
And-
first degree murder.
Yeah.
This is what I find like, oh, like where did the mess up happen if they were gonna do this? So Eric receives a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 7 years at first, but Lyle gets life without parole. And then in 1996, so 3 years after that, Eric is resentenced to life in prison without parole.
So I saw
After it's
this.
discovered that he had not been sentenced properly during the initial trial.
The reason that the second trial was so unfair was because right before they were about to have their second trial, the whole O.J. Simpson thing happened, and as we all know, he was found not guilty, and so Hollywood And all of the citizens of the United States were super angry that the justice system had failed them because they truthfully believed that OJ did it.
Yeah.
And we all also still believe that. Rest in peace.
Rest not
but
in peace.
right after that sentencing, or the not sentencing of OJ, their trial happened, and we feel that
making
the juries,
asylum.
it was a mistrial in my opinion,
Yeah.
because they didn't fairly treat them. They were just like, we need to
overcompensate.
sentence someone, and
Yeah.
so
They were
it's gonna
they were
be
being
these
made
rich
an
Hollywood
example
kids.
of.
Yeah.
They were overcompensating.
Because also they also think, like, if you look at just the facts without any other things, 2 rich sons kill their rich parents, spend all their money. That is all that trial saw. Like, that is
Yeah.
what that prosecution thought, plain and simple. Let's make an
Right.
example out of these 2 rich kids.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it makes me so sick that they didn't submit. I understand it would be, like, Lyle didn't go on stand the second time. He did the 1st trial. On the second trial, he didn't because he was like, I don't want to go through that
It's
emotional
hard to
damaging
watch.
thing
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
And also, like, why would I need to go on stand? That's why Eric got charged with less sentence, because he did go on stand. Lyle didn't. And
why-
so they were just like, okay, well, you obviously orchestrated this whole thing.
But then
so
why
you're
did they
guilty.
go back and re-sentence him again? Like, why did they sentence
Let's look
Eric
it
twice? I don't get that, because they're like, they literally says because it was the wrong sentencing. How do you find that 3 years later?
Yeah.
Like, that's my thing. Like, why does this take so long?
Trust me, everything about
I
the
know.
law and the government takes forever.
And I also want to think about, so his dad was a big entertainment industry. Who did he know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Who did he know? He was rich in California. He was known to be powerful. A powerful man. What else did he know?
Yeah, I know.
That's
Just
true.
saying. It's not confirmed at all. That's just a me thing.
No, I know. It's.
I don't
think
trust anyone.
the whole case is just so terribly sad.
It's
So
very
terribly
sad.
sad.
Also, some, like,
'Cause
context.
their
of
lives-
this-
It smells like chocolate. I don't know.
You're just gonna hear.
Sorry.
Some details about this case, in case you guys were not educated on it. The entire reason that these brothers murdered their parents cold blood is because they were being extremely emotionally and sexually abused by both of their parents in one way or the other. Kitty wasn't a part of the sexual abuse. She let it happen,
But
though.
she was
so
I was
she
gonna
was-
say
she
we
was
skipped
distant
over
and
the
emotionally
sexual abuse
abusive.
completely.
Yeah.
She knew it was happening. She stated out loud that it was happening, and then she'd say, like, stuff like, oh, I'm gonna poison you, or I hate you so much, like, I wish you were never born. She would just be very emotionally abusive to these
A
children.
lot, yeah.
And their father was already emotionally abusive from day one, and he started sexually abusing them when they were 5-6 years old.
Yeah.
And then they started financially abusing him when he couldn't control them with the other type of abuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, what makes me sick is I've seen, like, content creators, like Brianna Chicken Fry, coming on and knowing absolutely nothing
How's your
about
breakup
this
going?
case. Literally.
Oh yeah. I know. I saw that on like the Daily Mail or whatever.
she's like,
I'm
you can't kill your parents. You could have just, like, run away and gone
Run
to
away.
college. They tried that. Their
Ugh.
parents stopped them from staying on campus and said, you're going to college, but you're going to stay here at home.
Yeah.
So that I
Yeah.
can continue abusing you and use you whenever I want. And you're going to do everything under my rules, my house. They tried to get away so many times.
Yeah.
Eric actually did try to run away. He ran into the woods. He got lost, and then his father found him, brought him back in, and abused him.
Right.
So it's not like these things were out of their control. It's not like they could have prevented not killing their parents. They probably could have not killed their parents, but there's no way they would have gotten out of there.
Yeah, and
they were
see, like
fully
I think
adults.
their
at the
mental
point-
age was so low. Too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Eric
when you're
was getting
put
abused all the
through-
way up until he was 17 years old. And
Yeah.
he tried everything in his power to get away from his parents, and he couldn't. And even his brother tried to help him get away from his parents, and he couldn't because they had to stay at home even when they went to college.
And when
Yeah.
you're put in that situation, if they like, so yes, he tried to run away, but like when she says, like when people are like, why didn't they just run away and all that stuff, think about it, think about it, like,
You don't know
they
the-
were emotionally and physically abused since they were 5 and 6.
You also
Yeah.
don't
They
know what
don't
it's like
trust
to be
their parents,
in, like,
but that's all they've ever known.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
all they've known.
being in an abuse cycle is nothing that anybody could possibly fathom, but you also can't relate to it unless you've been there. I don't know if any of you guys have read It Ends With Us.
Yeah.
But that book, like, changed my perspective on everything because I was like, oh, I'll never be abused. Like, that will never happen to me. I would never put up with anything like that. But you can't say that because like Eric had mentioned multiple times, even throughout his trial, he loved his parents so much. He had so much love for them, and he genuinely didn't understand what was happening. And when it starts happening at a young age, you recognize that as something that is normal.
Yeah.
You,
You
think
think
that
that's
is
love.
supposed to happen.
I
And
know.
the
And it's
thing
not
is,
until
like,
you get
sometimes
older and learn
he would-
different things.
he
but
would
then-
mention, like, sorry.
No, I would cut you off. My bad, girl.
He was mentioning, like, oh, like, sometimes it really wouldn't be as bad, and then afterwards, like, he'd take me out to get ice cream or something, and so I looked forward to that. Or I would look forward to, oh, like, he's not going as hard this time, or he's not being as mean this time, or he's doing this because I lost in my tennis game, or he's doing this, like, you can't justify abuse in any shape or form, but when you're in it, it's so hard to escape it because you're thinking like, oh, this is normal, or I'm just a bad kid and that's why this is happening to me, or like,
And-
oh, I deserve this, or oh, he was just doing it because he loves me and he's trying to toughen me up. He told his children, both Lyle and Eric, Jose did, that that's what the Romans did, and it makes you a stronger man
Right. With
when
abuse
you
comes
get
manipulation.
when you get sexually and physically abused.
Yeah.
And what else like makes me sick is that people tried to use that against them. That they were like they said themselves that it wasn't that bad, because it's not the same.
Imagine
Very
getting molested
different-
by your father. You
Very
really think that's not
different
that bad?
mentally.
No,
Yeah.
That's the thing is, well, Eric and Lyle had both said like,
Yeah.
oh, like it was.
Right.
I lived through it, so like I
But
can
that-
continue living on with my life. Where it's like, how do you go from being sexually abused? Well, that's what people are like saying. They're like, yeah, whatever. You weren't sexually abused because as soon as you killed your parents, you went and spent all this money. Like, you're not sad.
That doesn't erase what happened, and also when you're living in your trauma,
Yes.
you become so numb.
You
You
can't-
become so extremely
Grief
numb,
is
and
the
you think it's normal.
strangest thing ever, too.
It's terrible.
Like,
Yeah.
I know people that grieve by, like, laughing. And that's, I do that sometimes.
I know,
Like,
I do, too.
A bad thing happens, and I start laughing because I'm
make a joke out of it.
hysterical. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can't, like, dismiss somebody's grief because of the way that they act.
Yeah.
There
But
were,
like sad, like it's literally not like that's like it's a quote. It's like the saddest people look the happiest.
yes.
Yeah.
And it's because you're
Yeah.
trying to finally fight for your life back.
Yeah, I
and, like, you just lost your whole life. And I'm sure I know that it was emotionally traumatizing for them to murder their parents in the first place because
Yeah.
Eric was going to kill himself.
Yeah.
Because he was
Right.
living with that guilt every day, and that's why he told that psychiatrist in the first place, is because he couldn't deal with holding
They said that in
secret
his
anymore.
trial
Yeah.
Yeah,
and his testimony.
he did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like I will always agree with with Leslie. She's like if it was the Menendez sisters,
It would
Yeah, I know.
Done.
I love that she said that.
100%.
it would have been
It
done.
would have been
over.
Yeah, I thought it stopped recording.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
thought the
even
door
then,
opened.
like, I mean, we experienced this day to day. And this is why I just wrote about this in sociology. Our government is so very twisted, and they will do anything but help the people that are asking for it.
Yeah, I know.
And when you're asking for help and you are in fear of your life, or you're in danger, or you just need safety, you turn to the law enforcement. They couldn't do that in this case because they tried to tell people. They told their family members, like, oh, I was getting abused. Or, hey, like, my dad, he told his cousin, my dad touches me sometimes down there. And
Yeah.
his cousin went and told Kitty, and she was like, yeah, he's a liar.
Yeah,
That's
and
not
there's
You're always gonna
psychiatrists.
believe the more powerful person.
the person,
Yeah, I know.
the older person.
The person
Yeah.
who tells them what to do and has like made the rules and made them feel safe since they were kids. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
And as we know, Hollywood is corrupt, and with that kind of money that they had, silence is very easy to buy.
Especially
Yep.
in the 80s and the 70s.
Yes.
Because that money was not seen very much during that time.
Yeah.
No,
There's a lot
not
of
at all.
different things, not just this case, but like other cases and trials, like famous people and not famous people.
Yeah.
And that's
Where
the
money's
thing.
just
Some of those people will
somewhere.
never tell their story because it's either too late or they won't be believed. Okay, also, sidebar. Whenever I mentioned the whole OJ thing, so I don't know if this is historically accurate or not, but I
fact check
did,
it.
yeah, I did see in the stupid little show that Eric actually spoke to OJ when they were in the same correctional facility.
Really?
And their cells were like right next to each other, and he spoke to OJ. OJ's lawyer was the Menendez Brothers' old lawyer who they fired because they were just trying to get, the old lawyer was just like, you did it. I don't believe you did it. I'm going to get you sentenced. Not being criminal prosecutor
So
whatsoever.
why am I paying you?
No, literally.
I like what I see is that the fact that Eric and Simpson were once cell neighbors in the county jail is true.
Yes,
That's true.
Well, because OJ got released because he won his
That's
trial.
all they really got of that.
Yes.
They just know.
But
not as
OJ's
true. Robert Shapiro was the defense lawyer for Eric in 1990, a member of the O.J. Simpson defense team in 1994.
Okay.
Yeah, that is.
Okay.
And that's the thing is Eric spoke to OJ and was like, hey, like, be careful with Robert because he did us dirty and he did want to get a sentence. So
And Lyle and Eric were actually in two different jails for a really long time.
Yes.
Prisons
I know.
For a long
It's
time.
because it's the
Lyle-
saddest thing
I
ever.
think,
it's because Lyle wrote a note saying that they
were
were
gonna-
trying to escape.
Yeah,
and
I
so
know.
they put him. They found it in Eric's
Yeah, I
cell,
know.
but
Okay.
If Reagan and I ever went to jail, that's exactly how it would
Awkward.
pan out.
literally, I'm like, okay.
But they're back together in the same prison now.
Oh, good.
I let me double check, but I'm pretty sure I saw
They
that
have been
yesterday.
for the past 8 years.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was like, I swear I saw that in my
I
notes.
know. That always broke my heart. I'm like,
Yeah.
imagine not, like, you actually are not able to see your family. The only
Your
family.
one-
yeah.
your one-
Yeah.
The one
I
family that
know.
you have left
That
that's been through
But
this whole battle. with
Speaking
God.
of family, their family has come out with a lot of support now. I believe they did an interview with either ABC or CBS, and they just said they're our angels. Like, we love them, we support them. We know why they did this and whatnot. Some of their family, like their aunt and their grandma, I just saw it like the other day.
Where were they
What do you mean?
during their like first trial?
They
Oh,
were
yeah,
were
I
they
know.
there? Okay,
They were there.
I wasn't
the
sure.
very first trial,
Okay, cool.
all of the Menendez family and even Kitty's sister has came forward. She was interviewed in front of press, and she was like, "We want justice for these boys. I love my sister, and it's a shame that she is." I'll put the video in. But
For many years, I struggled with terms with what happened to my sister's family. It was a nightmare none of us could have imagined. But as details of Lyle and Eric's abuse came to light, it became clear that their actions, while tragic, were the desperate response of two boys trying to survive the unspeakable cruel of their father. As their aunt, I had no idea of the extent of the abuse they suffered at the hands of my brother-in-law. None of us did. But looking back, I can see the fear and tension that their father had instilled on them. They were just children who could have been protected and were instead brutalized in the most horrific ways. The truth is, Lyle and Eric were failed by the very people who should have protected them, by their parents, by the system, by society at large. When they stood trial, the whole world was ready to believe that the boys could be raped. Was not ready, excuse me. Not
but it's like a shame that what had happened to her, but she was letting these things happen in her own household.
Right.
It's
and
like
they
the
did-
idea.
She said, like, these parents failed these children, and
Yeah.
it's time for us to not do that.
Yeah.
And
I've heard like a lot. It's kind of like I think about like mourn the person they used to be, not the person they were.
Yes.
Yeah, and also I feel like with the entire family, they probably didn't stand up for the kids because, like, imagine the amount of like shock that you're going through when all of this stuff you find out about your family.
Yeah.
Two of them are dead now all of a sudden, so you're mourning these people, and then
Yeah.
there's like claims being made
And
that
then
they
your
were sexually
other
assaulting them and
family
abusing
members
them.
are the ones that killed them. So,
Right,
like,
yeah.
how do you
So,
cope
like,
with that?
I can't imagine how divided they were and how confused they were. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I'm not saying it's a
100%.
good thing. I'm not saying like it's cool that they didn't defend them, but also like I can see where they were
I
coming
get
from
that.
being like, what the fuck?
Well, imagine you're like, you're told that your sister physically abused your nephews.
Yeah, and it's
their
somebody
entire
you've grown
life.
up with, and you've never seen that side of them.
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
Are you gonna believe
It's
them?
like you're
or
only
where's the
mourning the
evidence?
loss
Yes.
of who you thought they were.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's
like
really
the
hard.
idea,
That's
like the
hard.
memories.
Yeah.
I will add this in there. Jose's mother sexually assaulted Jose.
Oh.
Generational trauma.
It
There
was
it
a
is.
generational trauma.
Yeah, well, that makes
Um,
sense.
Well, at least that's what we heard. We don't know if that's confirmed.
We don't have that, like, we can't, it's hard to confirm that.
Yeah.
But
We weren't there.
I don't understand that. Like, I've done so many horrible things in my life, and I am so ornately sinful, it's not even funny, but I couldn't even fathom doing that to my children.
May they rot in hell.
Yep.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, we
It's
all know where they
awful.
are. But on that note, we are advertising today change.org, which has multiple petitions for the Menendez Brothers. Menendez, excuse me. Basically, this one that I'm holding right now, I have signed, and I believe some of them have signed. It's for just for a general of freeing of them, but there are also ones that are stating, you know, the resentencing. We did, I think, they closed that one because they already,
It's reopened.
Yeah, it's reopened.
But you can donate, you can give, you can do whatever. But this is a good cause, and obviously we don't condone murder.
No.
You know,
Yeah.
and in the end, murder is never good. That's not what the Lord wants us to do. That's not what society calls us to do.
Yeah.
But this is a special case for me and for all of us because they went through so much trauma and they never got the justice that they deserved. And they do not deserve to be in prison for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, it's
No,
a self-defense.
at all.
It's very
I
different.
condone self-defense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. And I'm like, I just, it's a really touchy subject, but they do not deserve to
No.
rot.
Agree.
Yeah.
And
the
it's
rest of
not
their
just because of, like, because some people try to take it, they try to talk about the Menendez brothers just because they found them attractive. But this case is actually important because
Yeah.
of the humans they were.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
many people have signed it so far?
I don't know how to read out numbers, but 109,247. I don't, that many.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
But I think this is the only one that I found that was open for now, but I do remember signing the other ones.
To open the
So
case.
do this, the decision makers sadly will be Gavin Newsom. That's a shame,
Boo.
but hopefully that
Yeah,
can aid
I'll
in some
insert,
part.
like a picture of the website.
And then we'll put the link in the bio.
Yeah,
But this
literally
is really
just-
important.
It is important. And
Again.
This is a serious
Yeah,
issue.
it is.
It
And
is.
men can be sexually abused. They
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Just as much as women can.
And it
They
happens
can.
often.
Just think
Yes, it
about
does.
how we let Gypsy Rose go free.
Yeah,
They
I
should
know.
go
Who
free.
holds no remorse for killing her mother. Let's be so for real.
Yeah.
And, like, my thing is like, I think it was self-defense as well. Like, for her, it's a little bit more, it's a lot more graphic and all that. But if you are going to let her go free,
Like,
More
Yeah.
graphic. These men were sexually abused with inanimate
no,
objects.
the murder, the
actual murder.
The actual murder was
you guys
more
seen the
gruesome.
pictures?
yeah, I know.
Of the Gypsy Rose.
His face gone.
No, I'm
Have
talking
you seen
about
the-
the
no, the-
Menendez brothers.
Oh, I'm talking about the Gypsy Rose.
Oh, I saw
They
those
were-
too. That honestly was just so disgusting to me.
No, exactly. That's why I was talking about the.
I haven't
What
looked at it. I haven't.
Don't look
I
at
don't
it. She's
look.
naked and it's
I want to
disgusting.
see.
No, but the Menendez
Anyways,
brothers.
but think about these brothers. Their whole lives has been nothing but isolation and abuse. They finally get free for that for a year. Now they're back in isolation again. Do they deserve that? No.
no.
That has
On a
been their
happy
whole
note.
life.
Lyle just got his degree.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, did he really?
He did.
He's also married.
I know. Well,
Eric is.
Eric's married,
Eric's
but Lyle's
married.
not.
Goes
He's
for
not
that.
gay.
She's been doing so much for him, and like she put out all of his statements whenever Ryan Murphy put out Monsters. She put out a statement by him stating that this is not a good portrayal of who they were, their story. So on that note, also go support their documentary. Do not support
Yes.
Ryan Murphy's
Yeah, please
series.
don't.
The documentary
Yeah.
with actual facts.
Yeah, no matter how much you think Nicholas is hot,
Yeah.
like let's move on from
Right.
that. He can be
Yes.
hot but separate.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
He's an
Yeah,
actor. He's
I know.
not a real life person.
He is.
Well, in the sense of this happening to him.
Right.
But
Well,
Well,
guys,
think
thank you
that's
for
it.
today.
Thank
Maybe
you.
next
Thanks for tuning
week
in.
we'll be
Thanks for
back with
tuning in.
something
With
a
some-
little bit
a lighter
more.
note.
Light
We could talk
topics.
about Liam Payne, but you know.
happy
not
Halloween.
as-
Aspen Elgard.
Yeah,
I got.
right. Oh my gosh.
Please be safe Halloween weekend. Don't drink and drive.
Yes.
Nope.
We'll talk about
Look out for razor blades.
Check your candy. Yeah.
we'll talk about Art the Clown next episode.
Terrifier was so good.
Ooh, Halloween episode next.
Yes.
wait.
You'll see us in costume
Oh, wait.
next week. Just letting
Yeah,
you
we're-
know.
I actually have a brilliant idea, and I think this could be really fun. I want to host an interview panel of like each of us asking each other questions.
Ooh,
Fun.
I'm liking that
For the
idea.
Halloween one?
Yeah, I
let's
do.
Switch it up a little bit.
I want a lighter,
I love that.
fun little note.
Yeah, I know. Our past three have been
It's
kind
been
of
a
like
little-
dark, like
Yeah.
heavy.
They have been a little serious, and that's
Yeah.
not really our whole niche, though it's important to touch on these subjects.
Yeah.
So,
We'll be
It
just
is.
that's why we're
It'll be
educating
fun.
you.
Yes, and on that note, Support both of you guys. We love you. Bye.
Free the Menendez Brothers.